Hello everyone and welcome to Michigan CNC Webinars. My name is Ted Gauthier and we do a monthly webinar training and education. It's totally free. We just do this for our own education and recreation and try to learn a little bit from each other, and we ask for different people in the group or people outside the group to present something about CNC so we can all learn from each other. And we try to have these webinars the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Occasionally, we will not have a webinar if it's a holiday or something comes up, but typically we have them the first Tuesday of every month. And like we have here presented on the screen, we also try to record these webinars and post them up on YouTube so you can use them for a reference. Just a couple of things I want to mention before we get started tonight with our presenter is that I try to notify everybody when we are having these webinars, and I try to send out only 2 emails a month. I try to send out one the week before, letting everyone know that we have a webinar coming up. And then the day before, I just send out a reminder, again, letting them know that we're having a webinar. So if you want to be put on the notification list and you're not on the notification list, please send me an email at tgauthier@comcast.net, and I'll add you to the list. That way you'll be notified when we do have these webinars. The second thing I'd like to ask is, if you know of a topic or you have something that you would like to learn about, and you know someone that would like to present, or you would like to present on a topic that you're familiar with, please let me know. There's some months I have open and I'm looking for presenters, so if you know of anybody, please contact that person and ask them if they would like to be a presenter on our webinars. And we would love to have them, whether it's someone that owns a CNC company or someone that's in the sign business, or a buddy of yours that is making a certain product or project. Like tonight, we've got Jim Cook that's going to present about how to design chess pieces. And so if you know of anyone that would like to present or you think might be interesting, please contact that person. Ask them if they would like to present, and then please get in touch with me and we'll try to get them on for us. Then the last thing I want to talk about is our name and a logo. We've been using the name Michigan CNC Webinar. Now this has gone on for 1 year. We've been doing this for a year now, and we've been using the name Michigan CNC Webinar. And the way that came up was we had a little workshop, and everybody said, wow, this workshop is great. We're learning so much in the workshop, but we only have a workshop once a year or twice a year, and we would like to learn something throughout the year. So I threw out the idea of having these webinars once a month so we can keep learning from each other. And most of the people that were in it at the time were from Michigan, so we just came up with the name Michigan CNC Webinar. Well, now our group has grown quite a bit, and many of the people that are in the group are from Michigan, but many of them live in other states. I mean, we've got presenters all the way from Alaska to Florida, to all over have presented, and we've got people in the group that are from different states. So I'm thinking that the name isn't relative anymore, and I think I would like to change the name. If anybody's got ideas for what the name could be, please send me an email and let me know. Maybe we can come up with a new name. The other thing that I would like to go along with it, and you don't have to come up with this idea, but there might be someone in there that's got an idea for a logo. I'd like to have a simple logo to go with the name. So if someone can come up with a name and a logo, or one or the other, send them my way. I'd appreciate it. We're trying to look at that. So that's all the information that I wanted to get out of the way before we start the seminar. Tonight we have Jim Cook from Cadillac, Michigan. Jim has been doing CNC work for quite a while now, and he's really made some unique products. And the one product that he presented to all of us a while back was a chess set. And several people had showed interest that wanted to find out how that was made. So Jim has taken the time out of his weeks, and put together a PowerPoint program, and he's put hours and hours and hours into learning how to make these chess pieces, and he's going to share some of his tips and techniques with us. And we'd like to welcome Jim Cook from Cadillac, Michigan, as our presenter tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation role to Jim. We'll be seeing his screen, and then we'll take it away from there. The one thing I want to remind everybody is please turn off your microphone if you're not talking. Feel free to open up your microphone and interrupt Jim anytime, and he'd be happy to take questions. And last of all, if your screen is not full screen on your computer, hit the maximize button and make your screen full screen so you can get a better view. Thank you, Jim. The table is yours.
All right. Thanks, Ted. So, yeah, as Ted mentioned, I've been working on this for quite a while to get them perfected a little bit. I've been doing CNC machine work for actually about 7 years now. I wanted to make a chess set one time, and I just kind of dove into it, and piece by piece, they finally came together. So what I'm going to start out with, I'm just going to show you some screenshots as I'm carving out some of my chess pieces. On the table here, you see the bishop and the rook. However, they're all kind of done similarly, where they're two-sided. The chess set that I'm going to show the pictures of, where it was done in 9.0 something. I am going to use 10.012, I believe it is, tonight, but so it should work just fine. So I'm just going to kind of show you some of the pictures as I was kind of going through making my latest set. Here it is on my machine, carving one of the sides, making some rooks and bishops. And the bubbles are in my way. There we go. So here you can kind of see more of a top view, and this is side one as I was carving them through. Now here is after I've carved the second side, and I kind of set it up on end so you can kind of see through where I finished that off. And then here's the final couple pieces that I've made after they've been completed. And then the entire chess set that I made. And there's, I mean, the chess set, checkerboard set, they're pretty much standard. There are a dime a dozen out there. Just one model that I put together, putting the maple and the walnut combination together. And then this is going to be the base of it. And then here where I'm actually carving, I actually put the pieces in their very specific spot. So I carved out each piece so they fit perfectly inside the board when I'm completed with it. Then I'm kind of gluing it up here. And here's the final piece once I've got it all glued together. Here's where all pieces fit in the box itself. And the chessboard sits right inside it. It just sits on top by gravity. And then you just put the pieces right on top. So basically that's the chess that I've put together. And so what I'm going to kind of do is give you a PowerPoint presentation of how I put together the rook. And then once I go through the PowerPoint presentation, I'll actually do a demo of it. So I guess as far as questions go, if you could wait till I'm done with my PowerPoint presentation, and then once I get into the actual modeling, feel free to chime in and ask me questions as we're actually doing the actual design of itself. And I gotta flip this around again. Here we go. So this is again just creating the Rook itself, and I did put a couple of pictures. This PowerPoint presentation I sent to Ted. He's going to post it out there if anybody wants to download it. So some of the tools that I'm going to be using within the Aspire software, because you do need Aspire to run this because it is doing the 2-rail sweep. But I'm going to kind of get into the drawing tool of the rectangle, the draw line of the polyline, show you a little bit about the offsets, how I align some of my objects, and then again, the 2-rail sweep. And again, by all means, I am no expert on the 3D designing. So first thing I do is set up the job. It's going to be a double-sided job. The first piece that I'm going to do, I'm just going to do one piece. As you saw in the pictures, I did multiple pieces, but on this demo, I'm just going to do one piece. So it's going to have the width of 1 inch with a height of 3, and it's going to be 0.75. All my pieces are 3/4 of an inch in width. And then I'm going to do the material surface, and then it's going to be centered position in the center of it. And then I just used the right to left for switching between the models itself. So this is optional. I know some people like using layers, some people don't. I get into layers. Sometimes I get a little crazy with layers, but I'm just going to use 3 layers on this one, where I've got guidelines. I put the 3D model itself on a separate layer, and then the actual Rook lines and stuff on a separate layer. So first thing I do is, after I create it, I'm going to create the rectangle, 0.75 in width, and then 2.5 inches for the Rook in height. And then on the line draw, after I put it out there, what we're going to do for the 2-rail sweep, we need the top and the bottom line, and those are shown with the red circles there. So they'll both be 0.75 in width. So then I just actually draw the lines over on top of those. So they're my layer that I have. I just turned it blue so you can see that. I have a habit of making my guidelines a light gray, so it kind of stands in the background a little bit. Where my models, I typically use red or blue, kind of stands out a little bit more. And then I will use the 2-rail sweep to start the model of it. Now, the drawing on the right-hand side, I actually will pull that in, which is going to be the shape of the outside of the 4 different sizes of the Rook itself. So then once you do the 2-rail sweep, you select the top and the bottom, and then you click the right-hand side Rook outline is going to be the piece that is going to model the 3D dimensional piece from it. And then make sure your red line and the green line with the arrows are pointing the same direction. If they're not pointing the same direction, you can just right-click on it and switch the arrows just so that they're pointing in the same direction. Okay, and then just click Apply, and then it actually creates it. And then this is a sample of what the Rook outline is going to look like. Then, oops, can't get that. Okay, so then when I do this, is kind of, this is what kind of helped me a little bit. Once I get the Rook pasted in there, I actually paste an offset to it. And the offset actually will get the tool itself going a little bit past where you want it to go, but I don't want it to go too far, because then well, as you go right to left, it actually will go to the far right and then down in, back up, and then over, down in, back up. And I try to prevent that. So I use an offset of 0.03 inch to do that. So it's not necessary, but it just speeds up the modeling of the 3D carving itself. Okay. The other thing I do is on the Rook here is I remove those top lines again, because you don't want the bit to go. You only want it to go right to left. You don't want it to go down. And with those pieces there, it actually goes down in there. So again, it is only to help speed up the 3D carving itself. These other pieces will be carved out on a later toolpath. So again, material setup for the 3D is 0.75. Zero, the sides Z0, I make sure that it's at the top, and then make sure there's zero gap above the model. So then once those are done, I just select the go into the, I just use the finishing toolpath. I don't bother with the roughing part. It doesn't cut enough to really worry about it, so I go straight to the finishing, and I use 0.125 ball nose bit to do the carving back and forth. And then, like I said, I select the outside layers to do that, and it rasters from left to right. It gives it the nicer finishing touch to it. Once that's done, it kind of just shows you a quick view of the 3D model once it's done. And then for the trimming of the piece itself, I take off the two bottom pieces. I forgot to kind of put that or make that note before. So when it actually does the 3D modeling, it doesn't carve out the bottom part here, because it's already 3/4 by 3/4, so you don't want to make any changes on that. So that's the actual one once you optimize it a little bit. So I wanted to show you kind of, first of all, if you do the whole thing, what it looks like, but then again, saving on time. It's already 3/4 by 3/4 it's going to be, so I wouldn't waste the time to have that part carved. Then once we go into profiling it, again, it's because it's 3/4 thick. When I do the profile, you only want to carve halfway through. So I make sure I carve 0.375 inches in depth. So you only want to do halfway down. And then I've been kind of doing the last path of 0.02 or 0.01. Just to kind of get it a finish or a nicer finish when you're ready to sand it down. And so that's what the actual first half looks like before you flip it over and do the second half. And then when you duplicate the second side, the one thing that I do is I actually take off the bottom portion. So when you do the profile, it only goes on the outside of the model, and you don't want it to carve the bottom pieces. That way it stays in the block of wood that you have, and then I just use the bandsaw to carve it out. But to make sure it goes all the way through, I do carve just a little bit deeper of 0.425, but as a couple of people have already commented out, when you're doing two-sided, you got to make sure everything's just lined up perfectly. Sounded earlier when we were talking, there might be a bug in an earlier version of the 10 version, and by doing the upgrade, it kind of fixed the alignment of it. And again, when I did all this, it was in version 9, and I find that sometimes you might only need two holes to line things up, but dang it, every time I only did 2 holes, it would be off just slightly. That it bothered me. So I always make sure I do at least 4 holes, and I try not to do more than 8 pieces at a time, because again, that fluctuation can vary, and it's just a little more sandy you're going to have to do, or if it's off by too far, you're just going to have to throw them away. So there's kind of what the model looks like when it's done. Again, you don't carve out the bottom flat portion on the last piece, and again, I told you I use a bandsaw to do that. So let's go ahead and switch over to the demo. So let's see here. All right, the pictures are in my way, and I can't. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and create the file. Again, double-sided, 1 inch in width and 3 inches in height, and 0.3 or 0.375 or 0.75 for the thickness. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Hey, I'm on to do a demo. I'm sorry, I'm not live on a demo and I'm presenting. Sorry. All right, bye. Sorry about that. I had a customer coming to pick up their stuff and they didn't tell me they were coming. Okay, the 0 position for the material surface. And then again, I am doing the center, and then, as I said, flipping it from right to left. And then I'll just go ahead and click OK and start that. So we got that started. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a drawing, the rectangle portion. And it's going to be 0.75 by 2.5, and I'm going to start it at anchoring position at 0, x0, y0, and I'm going to do a create. And then again, I'm going to get my layers going here, and I'm going to start do a guideline. Do a light version of it, and I'm going to, whoops, messed up that one. And I'm just going to move that over to the guideline, and I usually put my guideline up on the top here, and then the 3D model is going to go here. Now I do have the 2 pieces already drawn out that I'm going to put into the model itself. I'm just going to copy and paste those on over. Oops. Let's get a paste going here. There we go. And because I copied it over from the Rook itself, it actually was already in a layer called Rook. That's where that got created. So if you're wondering where that Rook layer got created from, it's from the copy from the other one. It actually copied the layer over itself. So that got moved over. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create the 2 top lines here. So I'm going to use the line. Make sure, yep, I'm on the Rook. Okay. I'm going to do a line here. And I'm just going to hit the space bar to cut that or to stop that. You know what? I'm going to move this out for just a moment. All right. Help if I didn't hold the control key down. There we go. And I'll draw my bottom line here and hit the space bar again to cut it. So now I have my top and bottom of the 2 rail sweep. And again, on the right-hand side is the actual curved on the outside. So I'm going to go over to the model, click up here at the top of the 2 rail sweep. And then I'm going to click on the top, hold the shift key, hit the bottom, and I'm going to use selected and look to verify my arrows are both going the right way. Again, if I right click, I can reverse the rail, insert, swap the rail order, but they're exactly what I want, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. And then I'm going to highlight my, again, you'll notice it's just half the rook itself, and it'll create the model that we're going to duplicate for the other side. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And then I'm going to do my 3D view. And there's the rook that we're going to be using. So that's good to go. So I'm good there. Okay, then I'm going to go back over to the model itself here, and I'm going to put my actual rook back inside by centering that. And then again, the offset is only to help reduce the time it actually takes to carve it. So I do a little offset here. It's outwards, and I use 0.03. I do an offset on that, and then it adds that outline on that. And then again, because I don't want to be carving inside each of these with my ball nose, I'm just going to go into the vector node editing mode. I hit the letter N to go into node mode, and then I'm just drawing a block around those. Highlight, they're highlighted in red, and I'm just going to hit the delete key. Well, that's right, Control Z, sorry. I don't tell you how many times I've done that. Not the delete key, but the D for deleting the node itself. There we go. Then I'll hit the N to go back into node, to take it out of node editing mode. Okay, then I'm going to pull over the toolpaths here, just take a quick look at the material setup. And it is 0.75. We've got it centered. The material surface is at the top there. And then we got no gap on the top above the model, so that's what I want. So I think I'm pretty good to go there. I'll just go ahead and click OK on that. And then I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go straight into the 3D finishing toolpath. And then I use the 0.125 ball nose. So that's how I already have that selected. And then I use the selected vectors that we're going to use. And you want to highlight the, again, the outside one, not the actual rook itself, but the outside. And then you should go ahead and hit calculate. And we should be good to go. I'll just give that a quick preview. Make sure it's working. Yep. Now, this one thing I forgot to do was delete the bottom part, and that's why that kind of looks like that. And again, you can do it, but it's just kind of a waste of machine time. So I'm going to go back, hit the N to go back into node editing mode, and I'm going to actually delete these bottom two using the D key on your keyboard. Again, I'll go back into the 3D finish model here and calculate that. I'm going to do a reset, preview, and again, that's kind of what I'm looking for is just the top portion only. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is back to the 2D here, and then we want to actually carve the actual model out. So I'm going to use the profiling here. I've got a 0.0938 bit that I use. So it's already selected. And again, the first time I only want to go down 0.375 and use that. The edit passes, I don't probably need to go down that. I'll probably just make 2 passes on that. And then we want to select the actual rook itself. We want to do the outside. And we want it to go around the whole thing on the first side. And then again, if you want to do, I like doing a little cleanup on the last pass. So either do 0.01 or 0.02. And then I don't use tabs. Go ahead and calculate that, preview it. And then there's my first half of the rook. All right, now go back to the 2D view model. I'm actually going to draw a rectangle around the whole entire thing. That way I don't have to recreate the 3D model portion. Right-click and copy it. And then I'll go over here and flip the side over. And for those that haven't done any double-sided, you can kind of see an outline of where the model is that's on the front side very, very faintly. And then I'm going to paste that exactly because everything was centered. I don't really have to adjust anymore. But because, again, it's 2D, if you haven't used any, or 2D, two-sided, if you haven't used side before, you'll notice once you're on the two-sided second side, there is no toolpath created because that was on the first side. So I flip it over real quick and you see the 3D and the profile. Flip it back over, is not. So again, we do want to carve the 3D portion. So I'm going to do the 3D finishing toolpath. And again, we're just going to be outside of just the top portion of it, not the bottom. Go ahead, calculate it. And then do a quick preview of that. And there's the top part. Go back over to 2D view. And so on this one, we want to click the rook itself, go into node editing mode again, because we don't want to carve this bottom. I want to leave it inside the block. I'm going to hit the D, the letter D on this to delete the bottom part again. This other piece that you're seeing right now is actually from the 2-rail sweep. So I'll just kind of move that down just so you can kind of see that. So the rook itself, we're not going to carve through that. So we're going to do a profile of the toolpath again. Instead of 375, this time we're going to do 0.425. I got my bit here selected of the 0.0938 bit, which is 30 seconds. Again, it's coming up five passes. I don't need 5 passes on that. Just probably 2. Do last separate path. It's optional. Again, whichever you feel comfortable with. Now, the other thing here, I don't know why this is. You think that I should be carving on the outside of this because 85% of this is on the outside. However, well, I'll tell you what, I'm just going to leave that there for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and click calculate. You'll notice it is all funky looking because for whatever reason, you can't do the outside. It's got to be the inside. So I'll just flip that over to the inside, click calculate, and that's what I'm looking for. So I don't fully understand the inside and the outside sometimes. I just know what works. So I'll go ahead and preview all the toolpaths left on that. And now you can kind of see right through it because we already carved the first half out. And this is the piece that would stay in the block itself. And I'll flip it around here. And you can see that from the first side, that's what gets carved out. So this bottom piece here is what I put on the bandsaw to cut those pieces out. And then I finish it off from there. Now, one thing that I'll kind of point out here, they come out pretty nice. I'm for the most part, happy with them. But I don't care what kind of wood you got unless you got some very dense wood. The pieces for maple and walnut, the pieces still come out on the light side. So what I've been doing is I've been drilling holes, I think it's an 0.25 quarter-inch hole on it. And I've got myself a little Smith that I melt some lead down, and I put some of that on the bottom because once I'm done with this, what I end up doing, because you don't want to scratch your board, because I do epoxy fill on most of my boards, I put glue felt on the bottom of it. So give it some little weight to it when you're moving the pieces around. I found out in the first chess set I didn't do that, and the pieces just kept falling over all the time. By putting that lead in there, it kind of gives it a little more weight to it, and by having it on the bottom, it at least they stand up pretty good. So there's my rook. One down, 63 more to go. So there's my presentation, there's my demo, and my next PowerPoint are questions.
No questions?
Wait for it. What? Okay, I want to see everybody thinking.
I'll start out with a question.
Sure.
Okay, now go back into your PowerPoint program to where you were trying to put in your side 2. You were doing your profile of your side 2. You were going to try to calculate a new program. So you flipped it over to the second side, and you didn't have any calculated toolpaths.
Oh, well, let me flip over to the software first. Okay, so you're saying this when I didn't have any of
now
this.
You're in side 1, and you've got toolpaths. Now you're going to flip it over, and you're going to create a toolpath for the second side.
Yeah, let me delete these real quick. Oops. Okay, there's my fresh side 2.
Right.
No toolpaths and nothing to work with.
Now, isn't the toolpath that you're going to use here the same as the toolpath on side 1? The only thing is you're cutting just a little bit deeper, but other than that, it's the same toolpath, right?
For the 2D, it's different because I want to cut a little bit deeper, and I don't want to cut the bottom out. So right. those are the two differences.
But it's basically the same as, in other words, what I'm getting at is, can't you go to side 1 and send that toolpath over to side 2 and not have to recreate it?
I don't know. Can I do that? I've never done that. I've always recreated them. How do you do that, Ted? Teach me.
Well, I think you can take that toolpath and there's somewhere in there where you can say, send to side 2.
Yeah, you copy it to side 2.
Oh, so you're saying right click. All right, where do I hit copy?
You right click out on your drawing.
That's the piece. I thought Ted was talking about I can copy the tool path itself. I mean, I can copy all this.
Okay, you're right. You can only copy the drawing. You can't copy the tool path. Yeah, right. So if you wanted to send that drawing over there to get the drawing on the other side, you can send the drawing over, but you can't send the toolpath over. Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah, so I just right-click and copy this, flip over to the second side, and then But
it seems to me that I remember somewhere where it said send to side 2. And maybe it was just a drawing. Not copy. I thought it said send.
Oh, I think there's
the other side. There it
right.
is.
Yeah, that's again the drawing part.
That's the drawing, and not the toolpath itself. Okay.
Yeah, if there's a way to do the toolpath, I'm not aware of any.
So, as far as tools you're using an 1/8" bit and a 3/32" bit.
Yes, for the ball nose, I'm using the .125 or the 1/8" ball nose bit. Right. Yep. And then for the profiling of it, I've got a 3/32" bit that I use.
And how's your labeling? What's the SRD 202?
So the SRD 202 is the actual part number. I've got all the part numbers embedded in my head. The reason why I put that in there is
what kind of bit is that?
It's just an end mill.
Okay, so when you say a part number, it's a part number for a brand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So when I go to reorder it, I just need the SRD 202. I do a quick lookup on the website, and it pulls it right up, and I add it to my cart, and I'm good to go.
You order your bits from China or from Tools Today or where?
No, U.S. Router Tools.
Oh, okay.
Down in Georgia.
Yep. I'm familiar with them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's that's the part number. SRD 220 is a 1/4 inch end mill. SE 1541 is a 60-degree V-bit. I just have them embedded in my head, and that's
okay. All right.
I just do put that in there. And what helps me on that is not necessarily the part number, but when I'm putting these together, I usually put SBNU and then the part number itself. So when I'm all done, I mean, this one's pretty simple. There's only 2 Toolpaths, but I've had some where I've had 12 Toolpaths, and I want to put all my 1/4 inch end mills together, all my 1/8 inch end mills together, my ball nose or whatever, to help me sort them out.
For this chess set, the other pieces, do they pretty much take 2 end mills for each piece, or?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know we're not going to get into those other pieces, but is this you feel that this is the most complicated piece out of all of them?
No, the knight was.
The knight was.
Yeah,
you want to show us what the knight looks like?
Oh.
Not necessarily going through the toolpath, but just pull the picture up from your PowerPoint program.
Yep. The reason why I say the knight is because I'm a symmetrical type of guy, and even though the knight is symmetrical on 2 sides, the other piece is symmetrical on all 4 sides.
Okay.
So there's knight. It is symmetrical on side A and side B, but it's not on the right and left. So, I mean, when I say it was more difficult, it wasn't that much more difficult, but
right.
It just
a little bit more brain thought goes into it.
Yes, there was a little more brain thought into it.
Show us a photograph of the knight. There we go.
There you go.
Very cool. I like the idea how you made holders for them underneath the board. That's a nice touch.
Oh, yeah.
To store them.
Yes.
Now, is there a cover for your board?
The cover is the actual top chest. That is the cover.
Okay. All right. So there's no locking mechanism on it all?
No, it's just gravity.
Okay.
Gravity sits there on top. I didn't put any locking mechanisms for anything. And it's pretty exact same way for its reverse.
As you move the pieces around, as you're moving your drawing around, it's breaking up your audio.
Oh, sorry about that. So what I was saying is it was just as easy to make the base itself on the 2-rail sweep. You just got to change the top and the bottom 2 lines instead of making it proud. You want to kind of carve into it. So it really wasn't that difficult at all. Once you got the technique down, let me put it that way. It took me a while to get the technique down.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? It looks like I'm the guy asking all the questions. I have another question for you. Is you have an Etsy store, and where do you sell these things? And
I don't, Ted. I am way too busy to even advertise this stuff. As soon as somebody gets a hold of it, yeah. As soon as I made this one, 2 other people ordered them right away because they wanted to see it, and that's just the way I'm doing business right now is I don't advertise because I don't have the time.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm about the same way. Somebody asks me to make something, I'll make it for them. And other than that, to order, it's tough.
Yeah, I'm about 5 years away from retiring my real job, and once I do that, maybe I'll get business cards and maybe I'll advertise, but I'm just too dang busy right now. I got a son that's engaged next year, and the daughter-in-law has already given me her list of things she wants for the wedding. So.
Okay. And you just went through one, right?
Yeah, I just went through one with my daughter. Now I got going through with my son.
Okay. Well, yeah, are there any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I was wondering how much these sell for.
I've been selling for $225.
Thank you.
And now that you've made several of them, you've kind of cut your time down and stuff. How much time?
Yeah.
How much time do you think you're putting into them?
Oh.
Is it taking you a week to get it all together? Or?
It does take at least a week to do, and the reason for that is because when you're gluing things together, you have to wait one night for some of your glue parts to get through. When you're sanding them, and then you get your first coat of lacquer on them, I made myself a lazy boy, so when I do my lacquering, I can just turn my lazy Susan around and do the lacquer. And again, you need to wait. Well, if there's any staining, sometimes I've done some staining. That takes one night. To do the lacquer on the first night, you have to wait. Do lacquer, because then I take a sanding pad and then sand them all down with the pad. And then you got to do another coat of lacquer on that. So that takes time. But then when you're doing that, I don't have a staging area, so I'm carving the pieces for the base or whatever. So I got sawdust everywhere. So you got to coordinate all your efforts together, and it really takes about a week just doing evenings only.
Yeah, and then you were talking about you did epoxy on the board. There's another day.
Yep, exactly. You got to put the epoxy on it.
Well, and then when people say, what, $225, they don't understand the amount of work that goes into it.
Exactly.
And the prep just to even learn how to do it. Well, that's great. Well, you gave a lot of people some good ideas, just even to learn how to use the two-rail sweep. Might be able to find how to use that on another project. And I want to personally thank you for taking your time and being a presenter once again and sharing your talents here with us. I have a PowerPoint program that you had sent me, and if anybody would like it, just send me a private email, and I will send you the PowerPoint program. I don't have a way to put it up on a file, so just send me a link or email, and I'll fire the PowerPoint program off to you. But I think you'll get most of what you need right out of the video. We'll try to put this up on YouTube, and if there's any last questions, now's your time to speak before we close for the evening. No last questions. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate you taking your time.
Not a problem. Happy to do so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Great project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.